Welcome to another episode of the Refined Peasants podcast. I'm Wyatt.
I'm Garrett.
I'm Nick.
Alright, let's get after it.
Alright, today on this podcast, we're all three going to take a political compass test to see how far right, far left, or how close we are to Hillary Clinton or other famous political figures.
I mean, personally, I think I'm going to be a theocratic monarchist, the way God intended. So,
Indeed.
yes.
Fascist.
So I guess that's a good thing to start out with. Like, what are your predictions? Like, how do you identify mostly?
What?
So, like, right in the dead center, if you can imagine that, you go down about a quarter of the way, maybe a little bit less, and then, honestly, probably on the right, just a tad, just ever so slightly, still touching that middle line.
Okay, so what would that be, though? Do you remember?
Oh, that'd be a liberal.
Liberal, conservative?
Like moderate liberal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Nick, what do you think?
Oh, full-on fascist. No, I feel like I'm going to probably be close to just dead center.
Dead center. So that would be still liberal. The liberal
I mean, I
quadrant.
just don't care what people do. But I'll probably be farther right.
You'll probably be further down, too, so you won't be in the dead center. Because I don't, just my predictions of you. I mean, I don't know what y'all thought of me, but I imagine...
full socialist.
I imagine...
Communist piece of shit.
Yeah, he's full socialist.
Just in that bottom left
I think
corner,
you're right
huh?
there with Stalin.
Just in that bottom left. He's top left. I'm not socialist. Or, he's not
No,
communist.
I feel you being communist. You're saying Stalin's not
I
communist?
mean, I'm not communist.
Socialism,
He's not
communism,
socialist.
I mean, same thing.
Yeah, I mean, capitalism, fascism, anyway. But, so where would you guys put me at? How about that? We'll start with there, and then we'll go back
I'd
to
put
me.
you socialist, bottom left.
Bottom left? Just in that, at least in that quadrant, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd probably put you... Of the four, I'd put you there. Probably leaning closer to the middle.
So, like, it's like Bernie Sanders. So Bernie Sanders is in, like, the middle of the left and a little bit down. And he's pretty far left for the United States.
So I think you'd be a little bit farther down and more to the right.
Okay. I get you.
If that makes sense. We'll post pictures
Yeah.
of our political
You're
compass
going to be
tests.
far right.
Okay,
Yeah.
hold on. Let's
You
start-
might be
let's
off the
start
goddamn
with-
page.
Let's start with Nick. Where do you think... First of all, Nick, where do you think you'd be? You said the center.
Center, probably to the right.
Okay.
So right and down.
I would say you're going to be... Honestly, with you may be, like, halfway down. Nick's a very libertarian guy, I feel
Yeah,
like.
he's pretty libertarian. I would say, like, you're on that vertical line, down on the libertarian side.
Yeah, I'd say you go right wing just ever so slightly. I bet you're really close to the center too. Like I bet you don't even go a quarter of the
Now
way down.
y'all know my view on political compass test.
So
asked,
we'll help explain the questions too, but don't overthink them.
No, it's not that overthinking. It's that, well, you're asking a very hard topic and giving me very simple answers, and that's like, well, I agree,
So,
but kind of.
The one we're taking, it's going to ask us a set of questions, and it's got strongly disagree, agree, or strongly agree.
Yeah, there's no neutral, correct?
Yeah,
No,
there's no neutral.
Okay. All right. Garrett, where do you think you'll be?
I mean, probably, I would say a little bit up and more right.
So authoritarian, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If I had to guess, I'd say you're going to end up being close to the center. You're going to be about quarter of the way right, though. So like you're going to be like down and right, just ever so slightly.
So libertarian right, not
Yeah.
authoritarian right.
Yeah.
I could see that. I mean,
Yeah. It wouldn't shock me if you were authoritarian. I mean, okay, it would shock me a little bit, but not as much as you think. So do we want to go ahead and start, or is that any other questions before we start?
No, let's go ahead and start.
I guess the link to it is politicalcompass.org.
Yeah, I'll leave
There's a million of these things out there. But
I'll leave a link to this one, and I think the 8 values one is way more accurate, but because it's like 70-something questions, but we don't have time for that. So here we go. All right, so the first question. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interest of transnational corporations.
I mean, so the framing of the question saying it's if we're assuming it's inevitable, then I'd have
Right.
to agree.
Yeah, right. If you follow the premise.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Nick, your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, with how they framed the questions, like, yeah, I mean,
Because I don't think it's inevitable, personally.
Yeah.
But
yeah, well, I
this
mean,
is
going
why
with
I
the
hate
premise.
the compass text.
yeah, the framing of the questions has a lot to do with these.
Yeah.
But
Right. Okay. So the second question. I would always support my country, whether it was right or wrong.
no.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, so your politicians can make bad decisions. Like, I'm not going to let you, like, just because we do something wrong, I'm not going to let you just waltz up to our country and do it, like, try to destroy it. But I'm not necessarily going to, like, so, like, the false flag operations for Vietnam and Korea to get us into the wars, that's not okay.
It's not okay, but I still support our country.
Right.
I mean...
Not if they do something wrong, I don't.
I still support the troops who weren't told why they were going. They were basically lied to. I still support them.
I mean, depends on what you mean by sports. I mean, if you mean, like, whenever they get home, like, making sure that they got their benefits and stuff, fine. But, like, making sure that they, supporting them and, killing Iraqi civilians, not a shot. But, so I would,
I would disagree.
As much as I love FDR, there's no way I can okay what he did to the Japanese people.
Yeah.
And there's no way I could be silent about it either.
Right.
Like,
America does bad things, and we need to acknowledge that it's doing bad things and not try to...
Exactly.
Like, so you have to look at it in its reference to history, but you still can say it's objectively wrong. Like, slavery is objectively wrong.
Oh, yeah. There is no historical lens with me. I'll be straight up with you. Like, there is no amount of gymnastics I'm going to be walked through to say, like you said, like, slavery was okay, or, like, that Japanese internment was okay.
Right.
Like...
Okay. Next one is no one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. We actually had a discussion about this.
Yeah, I disagree. I mean, you can be proud of your country.
Yeah.
I'm going to agree with it. I'm going to say there's no reason to be proud of your country that you were born in. Now, you can be proud of your heritage, right? But that's a very different thing than the country you were born in. Like, I'm proud of our Irish and German heritage.
I'm proud of our American heritage too, and I'm proud to be born in America. Like, we can have a discussion later about whether that's rational or not.
Well, I think what it's leaning towards is nationalism.
Yeah,
like
I don't think there's anything wrong with nationalism, taking pride in your own country. But
okay,
I mean, you can take it to a fault.
I mean, I think
you can take anything to a fault.
I mean, I think you're conflating nationalism and patriotism.
But we'll discuss that at a later date. But Nick, you want to read this next one?
Our race has more superior qualities compared to other races. I disagree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I'm going to strongly
disagree. I'm going to strongly disagree with that one.
Your race does not dictate. So, like, there are physiological differences between races, but they're minute. And it's not... No one race is superior to another in any way, shape, or form to me.
Ooh, now this one I'm going to have to think about, but I'll go ahead and I'll ask it. So, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, strongly agree. Like, we teamed up with the Russians to beat the Germans in World War II.
So, I'm very pragmatic. And I'll be honest with you. If I was staring fascism in the face, I think at the end of the day, the goal is stop that at all costs. Even if it means, siding with communism. But I'm very hesitant to do that. Because it's kind of an ends justify the means type thing.
Well, to me, it's you're picking the battle you're having right now. Like, do I need to fight both of you right now, or can we team up, fight one, and then I can fight you later? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to put agree, but I do not strongly agree.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
So the next one, military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. I'm going to agree. So the problem with international law is that other countries are not necessarily looking out for your own. And they may not have your own country's best interests at heart. So, like, in the scale of, like, chemical weapons, I think that they're just trying to keep the rules of war from being just savage.
I was fixing to say, like, how far do we go with this?
Right. So, like, my thing is if Mexico bombs the U.S., just as an example, Mexico bombs the U.S., and the UN says you can't retaliate. Like, you're not going to retaliate. To me, that's bullshit.
Well, I think the UN, so for one, the UN can't tell us what we can and can't do.
Yeah, we tell the UN.
They don't have the power, they don't have a head. But the UN can and probably should tell us, hey, you probably shouldn't retaliate. Because their goal is peace.
I don't think that international...
And that's not necessarily international law. The question it's really getting at here is torture or civilian casualties.
So you're gonna. The problem is every war, most of the dead people are civilians.
Yeah.
Civilians are affected the most by war.
And that's historically just how it is. Unfortunately,
like
civilians
except
are the
for a
ones
few
that
of the
pay.
brass, war is mostly civilians.
yeah, or soldiers.
Yeah, you mean.
But I mean, I put agree on that one.
I'm going to put
So-
disagree just because, like, I don't think... I mean, as a matter of principle, I would say you don't violate things like the Geneva Convention or...
I can see that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the Geneva Convention is probably a good thing. Well, it's definitely a good thing. Keeping the rules of war from us just being barbarians is a good thing.
Nick, I'll go ahead and let you read this next one.
There is now a worry fusion of information and entertainment.
I mean, I'll just be blunt about this one. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not...
It's getting difficult to discern, and this goes on both sides. Primarily, I see it on the left.
I bet
But-
so.
Yeah, I mean, that's just from my perspective, but I do see a worrying amount of
Yeah.
what they're talking about. Like, it's hard to tell what information's real and what's not.
Well, I mean, it's like you watch 10 different news stations about one topic, you get 10 different answers.
Yeah.
And actually, if you there's a video going around TikTok where it's the media literally saying different, like CNN, Fox News, all these different media shows are saying the exact same dialogue. I'll show y'all later, but it's literally like other forms of media, and then it plays like 15 channels going other forms of media. You know, they're like, we're going to try to bring you the truth, and then the 20 of them go, we're going to try to bring you the truth.
Yeah,
It's the
so
same
the
stage.
problem
Like running
is-
off the script.
So news media has largely been shifted from, instead of journalism, they're now a business model. So it's no longer
It's
necessarily
not about the truth, it's about who gets there
right.
first.
So like real
It's about
journalists,
news.
in all honesty, like real journalists very rarely are on CNN or Fox or anywhere. To be honest with you, they're probably, if you're looking for real journalism, I would look where the money isn't, which is probably like the classic newspapers, which even them
Even
have
them are
big
biased.
money.
Well, because a lot of small newspapers are now owned by larger
Yeah.
publications.
So the problem isn't even newspapers.
So like the
biased.
LA Times is a branch off the New York Times.
Right,
you
right,
know, like
But even small newspaper are biased in certain areas.
Yeah, so their bias, I would say, is not it's not left, it's not right, it's towards the money now.
yeah, it's towards views.
Exactly, and whatever gets you the most views in your little niche market, that's what they're going to go for, you know.
Oh, this is one. I'm gonna read this one. Just might surprise people. But people are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality, and yeah, like I strongly agree with that. Because class separation has existed
Since
for
the
forever.
dawn of
Yeah,
time.
there has always been two classes of people.
Since we learned farming
So-
in society.
So you would say Karl Marx probably had a good point then.
I mean, yeah. So I think class is a bigger divider than race, than
So, if there's any confusion on this question, here's a different way to phrase that question. Do you think a rich white man, does he have more in common with a poor
white man.
or a rich black man? And the answer is he has more in common with a rich black man.
Yeah,
So, I mean, wealth transcends everything.
right.
So,
Like I was saying, like there's always been two classes of people: the haves and the have-nots. And this goes before. This predates Sumer. This predates just human civilization. We have always the people with the resources,
right.
whether that resource is a berry patch or millions of dollars. It's always been this way.
Okay.
So
This next one will be interesting, too. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. And
Yeah, I agree.
yeah,
So that's inherently a left-wing position, though.
controlling inflation.
Yep.
I don't see how that's a left-wing position though.
Well, controlling unemployment has traditionally been, like I'm just telling you, like, it's going to move you left on the test for that.
I don't see how.
Well, they're more of a demand-side
Like,
economics.
and it doesn't matter. Like I'm saying, like control. So
So the problem is if the
Keeping
inflation goes too high, unemployment will follow.
yeah,
Well,
Germany saw to that.
unemployment can vary, like, it can be manipulated very, very easily. And inflation, it is what it is, you know? Like,
well, that's not true because you can exacerbate inflation rates.
Yeah, look at Germany.
oh,
look at-
absolutely. No. I'm
Look
saying,
at this
like,
year alone.
like you can I'm saying you can do inputs to change the inflation rate, but you can so the unemployment rate can be, let's say, 6%, and you don't want it to be that high, that low, whatever. You can start dropping what qualifies as an unemployment. Exactly. You can't really do that for inflation. What
because a dollar's value is a dollar's value.
Right. So,
I get that.
the next one. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation.
Strongly agree.
I would Nate, yeah. Nate, go ahead and tell us why.
Well, if you don't put any regulation on somebody, they're not going to care until you start. So if anyone watches the Lorax, where he chops down the trees and he doesn't care how many he chops down until there's nothing left.
Capitalism has to be tempered by morality, otherwise you get the Lorax. You know, where
problem
it's just
is,
like, I make more money if I cut down all the trees.
Capitalism, I think...
Capitalism favors the greedy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not... Like I said, that's not untrue. I just think, like, any ism, socialism, communism, capitalism, they all have to be tempered. Like, communism looks really good on paper. When not tempered by morality, though, you get Stalin.
Right.
Like, any kind of economic process has to have a moral sense. So I'm a little conflicted here because if people care... So my thinking is, if people cared about the environment, then they wouldn't buy... Like, so say Coke was just polluting the environment and had no cares, you know? People found out and they're like, look, we don't really want to support Coke anymore. We're going to go buy a different company's product.
The problem is Coke owns every other different product.
Well, that's what I was going to get to, is like we have these trusts that are
we have an
umbrella corporations.
So like Coke owns Dr. Pepper,
but they own it in such a way that it's technically, not necessarily legally, because for all practical reasons it is a monopoly.
Right.
But legally,
but Coke lets the same CEO
monopoly.
of Dr. Pepper keep doing what he's doing. It's just most of the money goes to Coke.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
So and you really can't do you can't do like, well,
it's a way to have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah. And you really can't say, well, where's everyone just go to bottled water?
I mean,
because water companies do the same.
Yeah.
Like Nestle kills village in Africa if they come to Nestle's river.
Oh.
Yeah, I think you gotta rein in because corporations don't care about morality. They care about the almighty dollar. And
that's why they go to China.
And that's fine.
Sweatshops.
But you can't
I'm not a no regulations guy. I'm just a limited regulations guy.
Right.
You're a laissez-faire.
So what did you end up putting on this one?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea.
No, I don't think so.
And why is that?
So if I'm working and you tax me at like a 50% tax rate, and so part of the problem is how is need defined. So like I have no problem helping like single mothers who need food stamps and need welfare checks and everything like that. My problem stems from the people who are able and choose not to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we can have a discussion about how prevalent those people are, but I don't think that just because someone else has more to give means that you should take from them more and use it to...
And it's also... So on the flip side of that, you know, I would say, you know, don't take away food stamps, for example, because of the one dude who abused it, because then you're really taking away from the mother who needs it.
Right.
And that leads to, I mean, like in the scenario you gave, like, you know, hungry mother, hungry kids. You know,
right.
we don't. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. But it's also about like helping people proportionally. So like right now we have a flat rate for like unemployment, Social Security, stuff like that. Ideally, you would hand it out proportionally in this like question.
So what do you mean?
So like if you have a healthy 401k and you retired with a really good savings, ideally we would take the money we normally would give you. We would give you less, and we would give somebody else
no.
more.
No, absolutely.
So the whole thing.
If on the premise that you both paid the same into Social Security throughout your life, absolutely fucking.
Well, in all honesty, the person who paid more would probably be the wealthier person.
Right. Like absolutely fucking not. To me.
Okay. So let me try this in a doctor's example, just to make sure that we're all clear on like what it's saying. So, you have two people that came to your office. One has a cut off arm, and the other one has let's say a nail in his foot. Like, you're going to deal with the one first. That is the extremist one to get the point across, right?
Okay.
So you help the people who need it the most.
But in your example, they both haven't already paid the doctor. So if
I think you're looking too much into the example, though.
I don't. Maybe, but in your example, like I said, to appropriately accommodate both things, like my strain of thought is you would both these patients would have had to already pay the doctor. So you've walked into a doctor's office and you both pay the doctor right then. You should both receive treatment at the same time.
Yeah, just a little looking too much. Okay, so let me try this. Okay, so like there's a reason. So like homeless people, we give them. I don't know how charitable people are, but like there's a reason you would give them money for food and not the guy on Wall Street.
Right. But
so
charity
that's closer to what this is saying, is that we help people according to their need and not necessarily flat out.
No, I think we would help people
as the fundamental idea.
I think fundamentally we help people flat out.
I agree.
Like that's just
yeah. Okay. The freer the market, the freer the people.
So that's a little complicated, because right now we exist in a free market system that's basically monopolies that aren't monopolies. So yeah. I'm going to say, for the most part, a free market economy. So the American economy has created more wealth and taken more people out of poverty than any other economic system in history. And I really do think the freer the market...
Even though it's not necessarily a free market, like you're saying, though.
Yeah. So ideally, we would fix our market problems by getting rid of these corporations and umbrella corporations.
We need a Teddy again to be a trust buster.
Yeah, so every podcast.
So I didn't
even get to talk about Teddy. I wanted to the last podcast, you jackass. You didn't let me speak. I was so mad.
Nick likes Teddy Roosevelt. So how do you fight that? How do you break these corporations up?
Trust buster.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Just like
he told him
foot down.
He told him we're either gonna dissolve your company, which is what they had to do for Standard Oil, by the way, or you're gonna break up voluntarily. And don't get me wrong, that's a little bit authoritarian and a little bit on the looptard side, but it worked. Standard Oil is no longer a monopoly. Carnegie Steel had to be separated later on, but that was mostly because Teddy put sanctions on them to the point where they were no longer competitive. So, I mean, the alternative is that you hope that somebody comes along and
has a better idea,
and then just creates their own monopoly. So that's you know what I'm saying, like
right. Well, so a good way to see this is like with YouTube. YouTube is by far the biggest video watching platform.
Yeah, I'd agree.
On the internet. So now we have Rumble, which is, most people haven't even heard of Rumble.
I've never heard of it.
But these companies, so what they'll do is they'll see an up-and-comer that might even has a chance at challenging them.
Eat them.
And they'll eat them. And they'll just buy them and be like, okay, well, no. And it keeps them as the only option.
So that's what Google did to YouTube.
Yeah.
So when Google saw YouTube taking off, they said, we'll buy you for this because you'll never make this much money.
So
and they gobbled it up.
The word for that is an oligarchy.
Hostile takeover.
And it's not good.
Yeah.
Like, whatever...
We have to do something to change the corporate structure in America. Because this is a recurring issue.
Yeah.
Out of capitalism.
Yeah.
You know?
So, it's hard to... capitalism is good for monopolies. Like it starts out just like a regular game of Monopoly. You know? Like, everyone has the same amount of money and the same opportunity to win. Right?
Right.
But who's
and
the
then,
greediest?
Ultimately, to be honest with you, luck plays more of a chance in who wins. And then after that, it's literally winner take all. You know?
Eventually, it
like
boils down
for every Amazon, there has to be, I don't even know how many thousands of failed businesses.
Right. Well, so on the free market, the free of the people, I'm gonna tend to agree on that though. Like,
I don't think having regulations on the market really hinges on our freedom. Like a big thing, do y'all remember? It was like a year or two ago whenever they were complaining about light bulbs. They increased the standard for light bulbs, and people were like, I want the ability to buy less fuel efficient light bulbs.
Yeah. They should have that choice.
Well, the problem is that these corporations end up just, cutting corners, making terrible light bulbs, and it even passed with Republican support. It's actually a Republican Congress who passed it too. Basically they were like telling these corporations, like, no, if you can make a more efficient light bulb for the same price, but you don't want to because you sell more light bulbs,
well, okay,
that's screwed up.
Yeah, that is.
Because at that point,
but then, why aren't we doing anything about AT&T slowing down phones and shit then?
Apple.
We should, and the lobbying's a bigger deal there because
they got more money than the light bulb company.
Yeah, I was about to say absolutely.
Yeah,
I was about to say.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I wasn't trying to be a smartass.
Yeah, there's no big light bulb, unfortunately.
Yet.
But
There was Big Edison.
Give them time. Okay, next one. Or anything else?
No, like I said, overall I agree with free the market, free your people.
It's a sad reflection on our society that now something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product.
Strongly disagree.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally don't care
that
water has become bottled.
So the argument you're going to get
branded,
is water's, free, water should be, you shouldn't buy water. What they don't understand is you're buying for the purification of water. Because I can't go to just any fucking stream or any lake and drink that water. You'll get dysentery and die. You're paying for the purification process of that water. That it's safe to drink and you're not going to get anything out of it.
So the thing is,
honestly, if you don't want to buy fucking bottled water, don't buy bottled water. Like, it's that easy. We have access to, not free, but available clean water now.
Yeah.
Like, just because, like, if I want to go buy a zipper for every pair of pants that I have, even though some of them are... You know, some of them don't need it. I should be free to go buy that zipper anyway.
Right. Yeah, I mean, so, like, I don't know that our water standards have slipped that much to the point where we're like, no, like, we probably need to get something under control here. Like, I just don't know how much of a problem that is, to be honest with you.
Right. Nick, do you want to do this one?
All right, land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. I disagree.
I strongly disagree.
I believe in private property.
Yeah, that's and that was going to be my thing. Like, because if you say land's not a commodity that can be bought and sold, then you're just eliminating private ownership.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, people have a right to own their
private
own
ownership of land.
Yeah, and people will have a right to own their own property.
Right.
That's why I hate homeowner associations.
You know how pissed I would be if I farmed for 20 hours of the damn day, and then somebody just came over here and was like, hey, this is free land, and harvest. And I was like, you freaking kidding me? Yeah, like, obviously that's not a big deal now. But
like my thing, like, so if the government walked in and said, hey, you own 10 acres, our research shows that you only need a 0.25 of an acre to sustain yourself, so we're going to take the other 9.75 acres, and we're going to build other houses on it, and da-da-da-da-da, and we don't have to pay you shit for it. Like, no, you can go fuck yourself. I bought 10 acres, and it's mine.
So it's that's why I mostly hate HOAs. Where, like, they're telling me what I can and can't do with my own house and property. I'm like, no, go fuck yourself. I don't care what you say.
Well, you get a lot in that trade-off, believe it or not. There's a reason, like, some of the highest housing, like, quality housing in the world is part of homeowners associations. It's because you get a lot in return.
They establish, like, minimum square footage requirements. They establish, like, so you have, houses don't deteriorate in HOAs because they're not allowed to. Like, you can't have busted windows in an HOA. Right. So it preserves the value of your home and property to be part of an HOA, but they are fucking retarded.
So I've seen one where a guy, so anyone who's a car guy, it's Pinita, it's where you naturally let it, like, rust. Patina. And, like, it naturally looks rusted and faded. And that's a very popular body style with classic cars. And this HOA had this guy's car towed, and he was fined because it was parked in his driveway.
So that's regulation gone too far.
Yeah.
And they said you can't have any dented, scratched, or miscolored painted car in your driveway.
Yeah, so you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
courts ruled with him. He went to court, and the
court hold on, with the homeowners?
With the homeowner. Because he got
homeowner or homeowners association?
The homeowner.
I'm just
the guy who owns the truck.
So they sided with him.
Okay,
because he brought a bunch of classic car, renovators, and they do this for a living. They said this is a very popular body style.
So in that case, that wouldn't be the law then, right?
Right.
Yeah, that means the law must have changed, or they can't do that anymore.
Well,
so that's good.
The thing with the homeowners association
it was
too
this
is you have to,
specific
But
incident.
I think
Right.
the problem most people would get mad at is the fact that you had to go to court for it.
yeah,
You know.
for a car that you decided to own.
Right.
Like, you go fuck yourself.
Okay. Garrett, you taking this one?
Yeah. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to society.
This is like hedge funders
Like
and stuff.
Wall
Yeah.
Street.
yeah, I strongly agree.
Yeah, me too.
So, like, the difference between, like, Bill Gates and Elon Musk, or not, Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates gave back. Like, he cured malaria. So it's
Well,
like...
Elon Musk is giving back, I think.
I meant Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos basically is just hoarding his money like a dragon.
Right now, I super do not like hedge funds because I'm an AMC investor right now.
Ape together.
Ape
Strong.
together strong. That's fucking right.
That's right.
But I can't... People are paying you to manage their money and make their money profitable. It is a skill to work the stock market, correct?
I mean, on paper, it depends on how much money you have. So if you're like a small investor, it's a real skill. But if you're moving around billions and billions of dollars, wherever you move it, it's going up.
Yeah, because
just the way
you've
it
got
is.
that much money to...
Exactly.
Well, if you're moving billions of dollars, it better just...
I mean,
so I'm going to say it's probably... I'm going to disagree,
Okay.
but just slightly. And there is no neutral... I'd be neutral on this if I
Okay.
could.
So I'll be honest. So like the biggest example is I don't know Bezos' wife's name, but it's his ex-wife,
Mm-hmm.
the one he divorced, and I think he gave her $40 billion. She's like the 8th richest person on the planet because over the pandemic, her wealth doubled, while she also gave away $60 billion. So it really tripled. But she literally cannot give this money away fast enough because that's just the way
Well, the stock's growing for Amazon so much.
right. But
I'm not a big fan of Wall Street. I'm especially not a big fan of hedge funds and their manipulation of Wall Street. Like right now, there's a big conversation going on in the ape community. Like the reason that we're doing these GME and AMC, it's not get rich quick. It's we're sick of being fucked. Like because like you said, so a hedge fund can take $1 billion and invest it in a company, and they buy it all at say $17. Well, just by investing that $1 billion into a $17 stock, it goes up to $30, and then you sell out and you immediately have huge amounts of profit.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that's just an example.
right.
But so like part of the ape community is like we're sick of watching this happen, and then like they're trying to call retail investors that are ganging up on like AMC. They're trying to call them manipulators. Like this is blatant manipulation, yada yada yada. And it's like really, you can go fuck yourself calling out retail for manipulation.
Yeah.
Like-
I agree. I thought the whole GameStop thing was bullshit too. Okay, so this next one, Nick, what did you put on that last one, really quick?
I put disagree.
You put disagree.
Yeah, like so I would put neutral if I could.
Yeah.
I
would-
slightly agree. The idea that people could just move around money in bank accounts and it makes them millions and millions of dollars richer. I'm not sure how much you actually contribute.
Right.
But
Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade.
So this is like protectionism for patents.
could be that. It could also be tariffs. Could be like an export tax. Could be like, for example, like labeling, like making sure that a food doesn't have lead in it, or making sure you don't get screwed.
I'm gonna agree with that.
Yeah.
This is the wording that I hate.
So the big one it likes is this is more like, do you support tariffs or not?
Yeah, I support tariffs.
I do too.
I mean, they need to be used appropriately, because the bottom line is a tariff just increases taxes, or just increases the price to the consumer.
Yeah, so you
But
gotta-
it makes the,
It's still...
it's what makes the consumer buy American made or country made material.
This next one's going to be a little rough. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver profit to its shareholders. So it's not. I just want to clarify what it's asking. It's not saying the financial responsibility to the company. It's saying, is there a social responsibility that a company has?
I put disagree. Only disagree.
Yeah, I don't think a company has any social responsibilities.
Wait, so you put Disagree?
Yeah.
So okay, it should be. So you would put agree then, that the only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver profit.
Oh, yes.
Okay, right.
So
I'm a disagree. I think companies
companies
have a social responsibility.
I would put neutral if I could, but companies have a social to not only provide for their shareholders, but also society as a whole.
I would say their social responsibility derives from their social power that they get from being big corporations. You know?
Well,
so you have a social responsibility to not build an oil pipeline over an aquifer, I would say.
But see, that wouldn't
And
be covered
build
in regulations.
and build quality products.
So, like, to me, what this means by social responsibility is, like, Paramount or Coke has a social responsibility that during Pride Month they have to change their logo to the Pride flag.
That's not quite what it's asking.
That looks like what it's asking. The social responsibility, not fiscal,
Right.
not environmental.
It also didn't say
responsibility.
cultural. So social.
Social is cultural.
Okay. So social is in like the social welfare, right?
I don't think
Like
that's what it
the
means.
well-being
Of
of
society.
society is what it's asking.
So
Do companies have right to pollute public waterways without
No.
penalty? Okay, so then you would be disagree on this.
I just disagree with your interpretation of the question. When I read
It's not an interpretation of the
it
question.
is an interpretation because
Yeah,
to me,
I've-
social
So
responsibility
this is the problem with these
is
questions.
cultural.
Well, I've looked up what the questions ask.
This is the problem with the questions.
And you
that-
just like commit it to memory forever, or
I mean, kinda, yeah.
so there's no way you're not.
I mean,
I'm still gonna put.
Put what
agree.
you put. I'm just saying. So most people would tell you that like the only responsibility a company has, period, is to the shareholders to deliver profit. Period. That's not, they don't have to abide by regulation. They don't have to do nothing. They don't have to put a pride flag on their logo. They don't have to do nothing. Their only motive should be profit. It's a Milton Friedman thing. Like that's why I know it. Okay. The rich are too highly taxed.
disagree.
So the wealthy in this country pay like 80%
A lot
of
of the
income
taxes.
taxes.
A lot of the taxes.
Like a lot. Now so what Democrats are always harping about when they say the rich don't pay their fair share, they're talking about corporations, which do often get out of corporate tax rates. But as
Right.
far as income tax, Jeff Bezos pays a fuck ton
Yeah.
in income tax.
So the
Well-
problem you see corporations
Well,
do.
no.
Not really.
I thought Amazon didn't pay any in corporate tax, but Jeff
That's right.
Bezos still pays income tax on money he collects from
So
Amazon.
his actual salary is only like $80,000 a year. Most of his assets are in like
They're not
Amazon stock,
So they're not liquid.
right? So and that's why so there is a capital gains tax, but you can get out of that easy, and that's what he does. So he pays net zero in taxes.
And what
That's
a lot
pretty-
of rich people do, they'll find out how much they owe in taxes, and then they'll donate something to a charity worth exactly
You
that
get a
amount.
write- and get a write-off.
Yeah, and they get a write-off, and they don't have to pay anything for that year. And they'll do this.
But if you're donating to charity, I don't see why that's a
Well,
problem.
it's donate to charity when it's really.
And I-
Yeah, when Hillary Clinton is donating to the Hillary Clinton
Yeah, exactly.
Foundation,
Yeah.
like,
So
or Trump's donating to the
I mean,
Trump Foundation.
it's a loophole, is what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
And
like you donate a, like
I figure-
Hollywood donates a painting.
I figure we should just say these are the lowest tax rates in American history. Like, no one today is paying higher taxes than they did 50, 60, 70 years ago. Like, no
Yeah,
one...
especially under FDR.
Yeah. So the tax rates have gone down really since... I couldn't pinpoint a single... At least since Reagan. Even Obama, even Clinton.
See, this is another one that I really wish had a neutral option. Because I don't have a problem with how much the rich are taxed now.
Would you say it contributes to inequality?
I don't think so.
It has nothing to do with the question. I was just curious.
I don't think so.
Okay. Interesting.
Like that, by contributing to inequality, you're making an argument. To me, you're making an argument that the government would use your money at a higher tax rate to diminish inequality, and I don't think the government is really super great at doing that.
Would you say that all taxes are a form of redistribution in some way?
I mean, not necessarily.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting.
Because I mean, if you use taxes to build roads and bridges, everyone benefits from that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So that
Everyone benefits from police.
But who
Everyone-
does that disproportionately benefit? A new road or a bridge?
People who drive.
People who, well,
Anyone who drives.
the poor is who it disproportionately helps. If you build it, so like whenever we built interstate highways, the rich really weren't that affected. You know who really helped? A lot of poor Americans
who can't afford to fly or
yeah. So that's what it's saying. Or yeah. But I mean, what I asked you had nothing to do with the question. I was just curious. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just say absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, not even any quarrels at all.
No.
Yeah.
So in a perfect world, I would wish no. I would wish that everyone had access to the greatest standard of medical care for anything from a splinter to cancer.
Okay.
So
in a perfect
So
world.
the problem is,
But
so a doctor takes an oath. So if you are dying, they have to
Yeah.
try. Unless you have a specific, like old people have a do not resuscitate.
you
order.
voluntarily
Yeah.
said, "Don't help me."
Yeah, that's
Right.
the only time they are, and they have to ask them, in an ambulance, like, do they have a do not
So-
resuscitate? And they say yes. The doctors step away and they go, we can't.
Here's the real question. Let's say you got a bad kidney and you need a transplant. You've got a lot of money. We can jump you to the front of the line for X amount of money. Should you be able to jump in front of the line for... I want to be clear. I don't think that's not related to this question. It's a mind thought.
I would say no.
Because I really don't think that's what the question is getting at. I think it's saying that, like, should
if you can afford a knee replacement, you should be able to get a knee replacement.
Right. Better than the minimum. So, like,
Right.
assuming they offer, like, a minimum bar, you should be able to pay for something higher than the minimum.
Right, so they
Something
have a
that-
plastic knee replacement,
Or you
Right.
get a
and then
titanium.
there's a titanium
Steel,
one
right.
that costs more.
Which
It's
I don't
like-
think anyone denies higher quality
Right.
and higher.
It's going to last longer.
Right.
So,
But as far as your kidney so organ transplant list, man, like people die waiting on them all the time, and it seems really unfair that because you had more money, you get to, because your life isn't intrinsically, this goes with my earlier statement, like your life just because you're wealthy isn't intrinsically more valuable than someone who's poor. You might produce more, so you might have a more of a social, economical impact, but intrinsically your life holds no more value.
No, you can't take
Jeff Bezos' life is worth no more than either
Yeah.
three of us.
Yeah, so once we all like we three die and he dies, we're taking
So-
nothing with us.
Right, I don't care if he's got $1 billion. He doesn't get to jump in front of me when I need a liver transplant. Like,
well, he might, just so you know.
yeah.
Which is like if
He
you,
may steal your doctor for a month that you were supposed to have your surgery. You know?
It's
and it's same
Like
way,
I said, in a
same way with Hollywood. Hollywood actors and actresses get special treatment just because they are who they are. Because no doctor wants to refuse, Tom
Jennifer
Cruise.
Aniston for
Yeah.
her 5th plastic surgery to look 20-something,
Right.
and she's 50.
Like,
Okay.
I'm dying if I need a heart transplant.
So,
Anyway.
governments should penalize businesses that mislead the public.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Fraud,
Absolutely.
yeah. I'd strongly agree with that.
Even on speech?
So what do you...
So if you
Yeah, if you make a false claim,
yeah.
yeah.
So big
Because that goes both ways. So like like cigarette companies, they outright lie to you about the research from smoking. You know,
Yeah.
if they come out with a commercial now that says smoking doesn't cause cancer, yeah, you go after that cigarette company for fraud.
Yeah.
Like
they
you know,
have
or if you go after if the New York Times posts a story about how Trump eats babies, and that's just blatantly not true, then you go fucking penalize that business.
So
this goes both ways.
how clear does it have to be?
it's got to be pretty much a blatant lie.
Because
I mean, it's got to be a lie.
it's got to be blatant.
Yeah,
So like
they have to know they were lying.
Okay.
Like beyond so right now, like I said, with cigarette companies, they know that cigarette smoke causes cancer.
Okay.
Right? It's
so look
you know,
look when they did know, they still lied saying it doesn't cause cancer, and when we found out it does, they got penalized
Well,
heavily.
Their answer about whether or not it causes cancer had nothing to do with the truth. It had to do with whether or not it affected their bank account.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's,
You know,
that's at the end of the
and,
day, that's all that matters to the
So,
company.
so not looking at this from I know the question was specifically about the company, but What about government officials?
Yeah, I think you penalize them too.
I think government officials are penalized for their lies through voting.
Think so?
Yeah.
Still need to be fined if you blatantly lie.
I mean, he still misled the public.
Like,
There's no accountability, really. Because what if you lie and you get away with it?
So Trump saying that the 2020 election was stolen is the easiest example to come up with. And, I mean, he didn't have the evidence to back it up. So what makes it a blatant lie? Because I don't think Trump believed he was lying. I think Trump just thought he hadn't
it's one of them
found the
things.
evidence yet.
It's one of them things we'll never know, and it's one of those things I don't know that you're ever going to be able to prove.
Right.
So, that's what I'm saying. So, how do you
Well,
know
if
it's
a-
a blatant
if a
lie?
big oil
Because all they
company-
can do is just lie again and say that they didn't know that
Well,
they
if
were
a big-
lying.
if a big oil
How do
company-
you catch a liar lying to you?
Well, okay, so you can look at a company, and they're dumping toxic in the river, and once it's proven that they've been dumping toxic in the river, and they've said they haven't, you caught them in the blatant lie.
That leaves physiological evidence.
We thought that was a pond. We didn't know that was a river.
Doesn't matter. Still
bullshit.
Still dumped
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, see,
we're allowed
I
to
agree.
assume a certain level of competence.
it. Yeah, so you're
Like-
not.
and
You're a
it's a-
multi-billion-dollar company. You're not complete retards.
It's a little sad, even in the example you give about Trump, that he wasn't able to realize that he had lost. But
I think Trump didn't believe he'd lost.
I know, and all I'm saying
But-
is even if that's true, that's almost worse.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's a false.
okay,
Next one. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies.
so basically, does a free market require regulation to prevent monopolies?
Yes. Yeah, I strongly agree with that.
Yeah.
That's going to push me more liberal, but that's fine. Like, I don't, like, our current situation is a prime example of why we need
Right.
restrictions to prevent monopolies.
All right, so now this
Oh,
is going to be
God.
social values.
Oh god.
Garrett, take it away.
Oh, fuck. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. And yeah, strongly agree. Woman's life is not in danger. You should not be killing that baby.
Fair enough.
I disagree. Now I have my own opinion on that itself, but
Yeah, there's a reason we haven't done an abortion podcast. It's because I get all hot-blooded.
we start screaming at each other within the first 5 minutes, and it's just not good.
You guys should see our text.
Shit.
All right.
You really shouldn't. We can't post them on YouTube. There's a lot of derogatory name calling.
Yeah.
On to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Everybody gets called.
This one I particularly like. All authority should be questioned.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Every little bit of authority.
Okay, let me just run through some with y'all. This will be really quick. Corporate authority,
Yeah.
government authority,
Yeah.
religious authority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that checks all the boxes. Strongly agree for me too. By the way, I just wanted to poke your
I mean, you
brains.
don't believe what your pastor... I mean, that's how the Catholic Church got away with lying about what the Bible said for so long, because
Yeah.
only they could read
Yeah.
it, because it was written in fucking Latin.
Right? No, yeah, I agree.
Like, no, you questioned fucking authority.
And then Martin Luther said, "Wait a minute, you lying? huh?
I learned Latin, you son of a bitch.
You have to pay to get into heaven." No, you don't.
Jesus says right here.
How can you read? I learned.
Speaking of the Bible, this old Mosaic tenet: eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth.
Yep.
Yep. So the finish of that quote is important, and I wish they'd included it in the question, but it's no more, no less. So you take if someone plucks your eye, you take no more than an eye.
You take the same eye as well.
Yeah. So I'm strongly agree. Tit for tat. If you rape somebody to death, then we ought to line you up with some real dark people in prisons. Because
I'm not that far. But I'm
am.
thinking you become a eunuch.
I may disagree with the question, and only in the sense that I don't think you stoop to their level.
I think this question, the eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth, is a direct reference to crime and punishment. Like, not the book, but crime and how it should be punished.
Yeah.
But I can understand if you
So
disagree
don't get
with
me
that
wrong.
interpretation.
If the question means proportional, then I get that. Like, if you kill somebody, you got to spend the rest of your life in jail potentially, right? Depending on, I mean, I know why you did it might not be really that important. Okay, so anyway, the next question. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theater or museum that cannot survive on a commercial basis.
Define theater. Like movies?
So this would be no. This would be like well, actually,
Should taxpayer money be used to fund like the arts?
So I think museums should.
Yeah, museums for sure. My
That-
problem would be with theaters.
theater would be like plays. Is how I'm reading this, but I don't remember.
That's
Yeah,
the.
'cause
That's
it's THEATRES, not ERS.
I'm assuming like the
So I
theaters, like the art, and
Yeah,
like your opera.
Broadway.
Yeah, that's
So-
how I'm reading.
So
this one anyway.
I disagree. I don't think these two should be in the same question. Like, because I think museums are important, but I do not think that. Like,
So if it was just museums, I would
I'd agree.
I'm going to strongly agree or strongly disagree.
I'm
I think
just
that we
gonna-
should just for the fact that museums are there. I think history is important. Whether
Yeah,
it's
I'm
art,
just, I'm just
whether
gonna
it's-
disagree right now. But if you got rid of theaters, I would strongly disagree.
Okay. So we talked about our last podcast about classroom attendance. So this next question is: schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. So should the state be able to force you in
To
education?
get an education.
To get an
Yes.
education.
Yes, I strongly disagree. I think that
Yeah.
you need to get at least a basic high school education.
Yeah, I agree.
Now,
Well, I guess in the question, I strongly disagree with. I think the state has the right and should.
yeah,
Um,
I don't think you
Thank
should
you.
force an education on anyone who doesn't want it.
I think so too.
Like,
you need to know basic education.
yeah, but who determines what basic education is?
Just
12th grade,
12,
the government.
12 years.
Yeah. See, like,
Now, I think there's
Alright.
better ways you can teach those 12 years of school, like how
But-
to do taxes and
I guess
stuff.
strictly in the content of the question.
Like,
I'd
are you
probably
would you be
disagree.
better off without a high school, like without going to high school?
No.
Exactly.
you wouldn't.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's the idea.
And if you want to pursue college or anything else after, that's totally up to you. But you need at least 12 years.
And this is a really like a check and balance on terrible parents, to be quite honest with you, because a bunch of parents were not sending their kids to school, even though it was free. It was still free. It's just like, well,
No, it's not free. You gotta buy supplies a
shoot.
lot. But
The
anyway,
tuition cost is free, but
all people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. What?
sorry. So segregation.
Yeah, no.
It's like a
No.
separate but equal thing. So
yeah,
I
no.
strongly
strongly
yeah.
disagree.
Okay. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children.
Yes.
Yeah,
Strongly agree.
I would yeah,
Because
absolutely.
our dad was a great father, but he busted my ass.
Yeah, I learned not to do what he said not to do again.
You know, I learned pretty quickly. He didn't have to bust my ass.
Yeah,
as
it wasn't a
much,
whole lot.
But
But
I learned
that
pretty
first time
quickly.
he busted your ass, he made it count.
Yeah.
It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree
Yeah.
too.
You have to. I mean,
So it's my issue here would be the word children. So children aren't
Teens.
natural liars. Teenagers for sure.
so
Teenagers
teens-
for sure, but children I don't think so. Like, so I'm gonna put disagree because I think the natural state of children's honest.
Not true.
Like,
so,
you
like,
ever-
how many times did you break a vase in the house as a kid and you didn't want to tell your parents?
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Huh.
You didn't want to face the consequences.
And the question isn't. It's just whether or not it's natural.
So we naturally don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
So
So
It's natural for kids to lie to
Yeah.
not get punished.
Yeah,
To
okay.
avoid punishment.
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense.
Strongly
agree.
Yeah.
Let's move the fuck on.
yeah. I hate that.
I don't give a fuck about pot. Like,
Okay. The prime function, so the primary reason you should send your kids to school, should be to equip the future generations to find jobs.
agree.
Yeah, because that is what you're trying to teach them.
I'm going to disagree. I think the primary function of schooling shouldn't be to get a job. I think it should be for
But what's the point of
education.
learning? Because you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you
I mean,
don't
if
have
you're
a
arguing
job,
for like pragmatism, so like what you can do with the information, I mean that's fair.
Yeah.
I respect
so like
that. But I'm saying, so like I had a history professor. I'm a business major for y'all on the podcast, but I take a lot of history classes as my electives, and they always ask me why I do that because I'm never going to use it. It's like, well, then my history professor's like, well, why do you need a reason to learn something?
Right.
And that's what I think.
other than the
school is
basis,
for.
other than the basis, you want to learn something.
Right.
I mean, if you want to go study lesbian dance theory at college, I really don't care because you're spending your own money. Like, I do
Yeah.
not give two fucks. It's when you start wanting me to pay for your lesbian dance theory education that I take issue. Like, no, I don't think so. It's not worth my tax dollars. But
Okay.
Ooh, this
Nick, you
one.
want to read this one?
People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce.
Strongly disagree. I am not a fan of eugenics.
Why?
I'm trying not to overread the question, but I think I'm in line to agree with Garrett. I'm going to just put slightly disagree.
So just disagree.
Yeah. And the reason is because there's a... So, I mean, we're all sort of aware how evolution works. I mean, there's got to be... So, with no natural selection, and there's no, like, weeding out the weak...
It's kind of on us to do that.
It's kind of on us to do that, and we're not really going to, are we?
No.
So, we might be able to de-evolve. And I may be reading too much into it, and that's why I said disagree. That just let people reproduce.
We're allowing too many unnatural traits to be reproduced.
Yeah. It's like back in the day, if you were born with eyes like I was born with, you died. I could not see from here to the fucking TV.
I don't think people with inherent disabilities...
I guess it also depends what you define as an inheritable disability.
So, I don't think a person with a mental illness as a bad person. I just don't think they should reproduce. We don't want...
See, and that's where I'm so conflicted on this one, because I like to agree with Nick, but I don't like...
I don't hate them as a person, I just don't want that trait.
But it's so hard for me to give that power to the state, man.
Yeah.
It's so hard for me to...
And you'd have to.
That is, so you would have
because then the state dictates what's an inheritable disability.
Well, they already do that with, say, a mentally challenged adult.
They just add on to it that you can't reproduce.
Can't own a kid.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's...
So, like, a single parent... if he's at, like, a 7th grade level, as soon as that kid reaches 8th grade, that parent can't teach him anymore.
I think we also might be overestimating how many people with severe autism actually reproduce.
I think Nick's pushing me more to his side. I'm not going to lie. He's making good points right now.
So say I see a deer with
which doesn't happen
messed
often,
up antlers.
but
that's a bad for the gene pool. So
but we're not deer.
No, but we don't want bad genetics to be introduced more.
But the
and
fact
more.
that you want clean deer population kind of makes Nick's point for him. Why wouldn't you want that for us?
Because humans' value is not in their abilities or
what
their
if a genetic trait where you only have a right arm starts becoming more predominant? You wouldn't want that handicap on
But it's never going to become, because it's never going to be evolutionary beneficial.
That's not true.
Because the person born with the right arm...
So
certain genetics are starting to be dominant. And they're
like what?
Depending on... if you are diabetic and you're having a child and you take a certain medicine, that child will be born with genetic defects.
So that's my question. It's like, it depends on how far the line would go. Like with diabetes. And they're not saying your life is worth less.
No,
they're just saying, like, look, you have got something. And we're not even saying you probably couldn't even adopt, right, Nick?
No, I'm not saying you can't adopt a child, but I'm saying for the...
I guess in that scenario, you'd have freaking broodmares for the state, right?
It's like the same reason...
Like, if you were a girl who had no, like, inheritable thing that kept it from reproducing... Yeah. I mean, your babies would be worth gold.
It's the same reason. Yeah. It's the same reason we don't let incest. We outlawed incest because eventually the gene pool gets so diluted that the children are born with extra limbs or no limbs, or they're so.
I mean, so that's fair. We did outlaw incest.
I'm going to have to switch mine. I think Nick has. I think Nick has made some really solid points here.
I don't like eugenics, but
I don't think so. I don't think we should be outlawing reproduction. Like.
I'm not saying they can't.
The government shouldn't
have
be able to come to you and say, Nick, because you need contacts, you can't have kids.
I'm not saying they should be that far. I'm saying, I mean,
but
I know it's hard to draw. Where do we draw the line? And it's always going to be like, well, this and this.
But you don't have a problem with. I think your problem. So Garrett, you have a problem with any line. Versus Nick has a problem with the line going too far, and I think that's the real big difference.
So I think. People with severe disabilities, I don't think they're reproducing on a massive scale. Like, but severe autism, they're not reproducing and making Catholic levels of babies.
You say that there's a TV show about people with severe autism meeting and hooking up. That's a reality TV show.
That's disgusting.
That's what I said. It's like...
Autism is, like, the highest records ever, and a part of that is just because, they died back then. You know what I'm saying? They didn't make it past a certain amount.
I hate saying agree, but
I'm not willing to give the state that power.
Okay, and that's a fair argument. Yeah. I'm the same way. Well, I'm sure we'll get to the death penalty.
If there was a neutral, I'd click it.
Yeah. And Nick, I'm going to be honest with you. You convinced me on that one. But Who'd have thought we'd have been so long on that one? But
The most important thing for a child to learn is to accept discipline. Children need discipline in life.
Yeah. People need
People.
discipline.
but most important,
You need to know discipline. So,
Especially self-discipline.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna knock you for saying discipline's the most important.
I'm going to say...
At a young age, for a child, yeah, you must know discipline. When you get older, it may change, but discipline must be one of the things you learn.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I disagree. I think understanding would be one. Go ahead and say it.
There are no savage and civilized peoples. There are only different cultures. Strongly fucking disagree. There are savages.
So you perceive them as savage, where they perceive
no,
you
they
as
are
savage.
fucking savages.
So,
If you are cutting people's heart out on an altar to sacrifice to your flying serpent god, you are a savage.
Okay, let me try and save you.
how
here.
about Christians who slaughtered baby Muslims?
They were savages.
Before you click that button, damn
Okay,
it.
I already clicked it.
Let me just go ahead and try and
Unclick
save
it.
you here. Let's say you took one of those, I'm assuming, like Mayans, right? Is that what one of those?
Aztecs.
Aztecs. Okay, let's say you picked them up from birth, right?
Okay.
You took them to Italy, okay? And they were brought up in Italian culture.
Okay.
Would they still grow up to sacrifice people
No.
on an altar? Okay, then I think you would disagree here, because this is not talking about, this is people inherently.
So we don't do it until
And
we're
So, like, Chinese people are savages just by virtue of being Chinese?
Just by I
Yes.
think that's the purpose of the
Then,
question.
yeah, I would strongly agree in that case.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
So
what
that was
it's-
just a misinterpretation
So
of the
like
question.
in Thailand, they eat dogs, or they eat like pets. To us,
Right.
that's savage, but to them, it's like we've done this for thousands of
Well, I
years.
don't
What
like,
do
so
you mean?
what you eat for food is not what dictates a savage person. Your behavior.
Right,
So
I
like
agree.
Sharia states where you're allowed to stone women to death because they wore heels.
Yeah, but when you've done
Like,
that for
I don't
thousands
fucking
of
think
thousands
so.
of thousands
No, that's
of years,
savage. That's savage.
Yeah.
And this is coming from the dude who just said if you rape someone to death, you should also in turn get raped to death.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, so I'm in agreement with the question. Like, there is no savage people, there is no civilized
there's
people.
just different cultures.
There are different cultures.
And now some
values.
cultures can be inherited savage. I'll give you that, but it's just their culture.
so
Yeah,
it's the
cultures-
cultures who are savage,
exactly.
not
the
the people.
Right,
The
right.
people are not.
And
Okay.
I think we've seen that the most with, like, Aborigines in Australia. Like, they've, so if you didn't know, like, a bunch of these kids, they give them education.
Mm.
So there's not really going to be much more Aborigines anymore. And they're wildly different because, I mean, the environment they grow up in is just different. Okay.
Are we in a hurry? We're only on page 3. Jesus Christ.
It
Yeah.
speeds up towards the end. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. And I agree.
Strongly
Yeah,
agree.
strongly agree.
Absolutely. Yep. No quarrels here. When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep your mind busy with more cheerful things.
Strongly disagree.
I agree.
You need how to deal with your problems rather than pushing it back to your behind. That's how you get serial killers.
But anxiety is a real problem, Nick.
The problem is everyone has anxiety. Everyone gets anxious. It's how so everyone has
Like, I'm not
depression.
saying-
Everyone has anxiety. It's how you deal with it yourself. And
I'm
if
saying
if
don't
you-
carry the mood with you, which is I think what Garrett's getting
Yeah,
at.
like, so if you have PTSD, you need to go see a therapist, right? But if you just having a bad day, so if you have a 5-minute morning where everything went wrong, are you going to carry that throughout the whole day and let it ruin
Right.
your whole day?
Yeah, so I think especially with PTSD, like, I would, like, the best thing is literally just to not think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, but
So I'm probably just going to agree with that one. It depends on what's causing
I
your
would
mood,
have to. I would be a
But
neutral.
overall, I think you should
I
try to focus on
I
the
agree
good
with
things.
Garrett, but I don't think you're crazy for your answer. You know.
If there's a neutral, I click it. But I mean,
Okay.
you need to face your problems
This one's
instead
going
of
to be
running
tough.
away.
No, it's not.
First generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country.
Strongly disagree.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm just going to put disagree for right now. Because the thing is like when Germans came over, they fully integrated, but they also changed our culture.
Within a generation, huh?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
110%.
So
Great Grandpa Wiedemann came here and became a farmer.
So what about
The
what about
motherfucker
how?
was fully integrated.
Okay, so what about the Irish? What happened when they
Irish
came
were
over here?
fully integrated.
You got to be shitting me, right? Did they have to overcome any systemic oppression?
Yes.
Okay. Would that not be like they weren't necessarily fully integrated, right?
I would imagine fully integrated on like a personal concept level. Like,
What do you mean?
so they come here and they are fully integrated into American society by like speaking
Were they
English,
accepted by
accepting
American?
American values.
Were they accepted by Americans?
I don't think Americans accepting is part of the equation. It's them.
Let me reread the question then.
Where the fuck do you keep going, dude?
Where the dog at?
She's literally laying down. Okay, so first generation immigrants can never fully be integrated within their new country. I don't think I think there's too much of a cultural barrier. So like if you drop like a kid like a 9-year-old in America, I think he can be integrated. But like a old man, I just don't think so.
Alright.
Depends on the age.
I mean, age would be a factor.
I mean, I don't think really any immigrants have ever come here and been as a whole scale has been integrated in the first generation.
In America, we make integration really easy though, because like so with Christmas, you celebrate like Germans could still celebrate Yuletide.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's still basically we don't outlaw holidays or religious practices.
Right.
So integration can be simpler.
I mean, my personal interpretation of the question is about whether or not America will accept you into them. Like, would they call you American, or would they call you German?
Oh,
or would they call you?
I'd have to strongly agree if that's the case. But my interpretation of the question is not the same as yours.
Okay.
Nick, we know it's hot. You don't have to keep saying it's fucking hot.
What's good?
Fucking hurry up and quit babbling on like a bunch of baboons.
What's good for the most successful corporations is always, ultimately, good for all of us.
Disagree.
I strongly disagree. I'll be honest.
I'll change it to strongly disagree. Because
Okay.
what's good for Amazon is not good for everyone.
Oh, absolutely.
It is when you need a job during COVID.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
It's not good for Raytheon either. Or it's not good for us that Raytheon benefits.
Right.
No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. I generally agree.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. I don't want the government funding any broadcasting institution. Just
so like PBS
personally.
should not be a thing.
I mean, I don't think necessarily PBS does it bad, but like if we're trying to make that like a general trend, I would disagree with it.
Yeah.
Our civil liberties are being excessively curved in the name of counterterrorism.
Strongly agree.
I'd agree with that.
I'd strongly agree, yeah.
Like phone tapping started with counterterrorism, and now they can tap you for whatever.
So go with the premise of this one, but a significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system.
Stupidly strongly disagree with that. Like, the two-party system is not ideal, but it's double as good as a single-party system. We could have a 5-party system, and I don't really care, but no. No.
Yeah, I'd agree. Okay.
You agree with that?
No, I agree with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried.
Disagree.
Yeah.
No, I strongly disagree with that.
Yeah.
The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes.
Yes.
Strongly agree.
I do disagree with that.
Yeah, we've covered your death penalty views,
Just
though.
on a matter of principle. I don't like giving that much power to the state.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't think they should be able to tell people whether or not they can or can't reproduce, I think murder's a bit of a different story. But, I mean, so the next one. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded.
By definition of society, then yeah.
Well, no, it's asking for a hierarchy. Do you believe in hierarchies?
I mean, every civilization ever has had a hierarchy.
Yeah, you can't.
It's a should question.
You can't have a civilization without some sort of hierarchy. So I agree.
It's a
It says in a civilized society, one must always have. So it's not a should question. It's,
yeah, it is. It's just framed a little bit different. It's a do you agree with the sentence said? Like on a principle level. Okay.
I mean, I wish it didn't have to be that way, but it does.
But then wouldn't you disagree with it?
One must always have people above.
So any society...
No, I would agree that that's the world we live in.
It's a do you agree with the statement above? Not okay, so it's not asking...
I agree that this statement applies to the world we live in.
Yeah.
Not in my optimized universe.
In a civilized society, can you not have a hierarchy?
Huh?
Okay, so in a
No.
civilized society, can you
In every
not
ci-
have a
in
hierarchy?
every
No.
civilization ever, we've had a hierarchy.
You physically cannot have a society and there not be someone above everyone else.
Yeah,
Someone
someone.
fact.
physically impossible.
Okay. Okay. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I disagree. I mean, like
I'm not a fan.
Picasso, Michelangelo had a couple of them.
I'm not a fan of the arts in general.
No, fair enough.
Like,
What's his name? Did the head that cut Vincent Van Gogh did a lot of abstract.
yeah.
Um,
You want to go ahead? You want me to?
go for it.
In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation.
Disagree.
Oh, I'd agree.
Whew.
In certain cases, yeah, but
So if it's drug addiction, we should prioritize rehabilitation.
Yeah.
But if you shot somebody, no, we're here to get justice. Like, we're here to punish you.
But whenever you're building a system of criminal justice, like which one happens more? Like what gets you to the justice
so there
system?
are less
faster?
murderers than drug addicts.
Okay. So, if we were going to build a system, wouldn't we try and make it more towards rehabilitation then? Since more of
I
them...
think I would build it more towards dissuasion from crime.
rehabilitation.
Yeah, so that'd be rehabilitation then.
Wouldn't that be punishment?
Keeping them...
No.
Rehabilitation is not punishment.
No, I mean...
It's opposed to punishment, actually.
No, I mean, like... So to teach people that you don't kill people, you hang murderers.
Okay. I don't necessarily think that's true, because people still kill people even though they know... Even whenever they knew that they would be hanged for it.
But
To me, it depends on the crime.
So do you
Like I
want?
said.
So if you want, in my opinion, if you want people off drugs, the solution to that isn't throwing them in jail until they go back on the street and then continue to do drugs. The solution should be to help them get off drugs.
Right.
And believe it or not, it's cheaper to do that. But we can't do it because we have private prisons who profit off of the mass
Yeah.
incarceration that we have. But
it is sometimes a waste of time to rehabilitate some criminals. I agree.
Yeah,
absolutely,
strongly agree.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. Which I don't think goes against our previous opinion either, Nick.
No.
No. So the businessman and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and artist.
Agree.
Yeah.
So I
There's
used to agree on this one, but I don't anymore because who do we remember throughout history the most? It's people like Adam Smith and Thomas Jefferson
Nikola Tesla.
and
Thomas Edison. Elon Musk.
so those are not
Bill Gates.
necessarily business people.
Yeah, they are.
They for sure fucking are. Innovation counts as
and
business and
manufacturers.
manufacturing.
So but as far as who has more influence on, is that not the question?
No.
Oh, who is more important?
Yeah. I'm not saying that the
if you're
arts-
talking about a culture, then it's for sure the writer. you
Yeah.
know?
That's for sure. Hollywood has more
and
of a...
that's why I'm doing this less for the artist and more for the writers, because I think writers throughout history have been what shapes us. So,
At least culturally.
oh yeah, absolutely. Bible would be the best example
Yeah.
for that.
Shakespeare.
Yeah.
We don't know a whole lot of old business people. We know business people from this century. You know what I'm saying?
I like Nikola Tesla.
I'm saying you
He'd have been in the
you can
1900s.
only go so far back though. But I
Eli
can name
Whitney.
you. I can name
Yeah.
you. Huh?
Eli Whitney.
I mean, I'm telling you, I can go back pretty much like Plato, Socrates.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like we can go
Yeah.
a lot further back with
Those
writers.
are philosophers, though. Those aren't...
Those are writers. They
yeah.
wrote a
They
moral
wrote-
That's
code.
fair.
Come on now.
That's fair.
They brought
But,
in the Dark Ages.
Okay, so
So I'm gonna go with Wyatt. Wyatt, you persuade me enough to disagree.
right.
I'm still
I-
going to agree.
I would do a neutral, but
Yeah, this is not a heavy position I have. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers.
I disagree.
I would be neutral on this if I could,
Well, it's
but I'm going to agree.
I would say it's the mother's choice.
Yeah. That would be
no,
my...
now, if you
I'm
have-
completely neutral
if
on
you
this.
have
I'm
a
just let
kid-
y'all hash it out.
If you have a kid, your first duty should be taking care of that kid.
Absolutely.
But if you're not, like, say you don't want kids, like you and whoever your partner is don't want kids, then do your career.
So it specifies mothers, not wives. So because if it was wives, I would be more inclined to disagree. Because a wife has no obligation to be a homemaker any more than she does. Now, I have my own opinions on what's best, I think, for society. But I don't think a woman has any obligation when she marries somebody to either be a homemaker or have a career.
You can do both.
She can. Well, no, you can't. To be a proper homemaker, you must be a homemaker. To be a proper career woman,
in that part, I would really agree with Garrett. I think to be
proper in one, you must be devoted to one.
I agree with Garrett on that.
But then you neglect one. Either you get a terrible kid raising, or
and so that's the thing, is this specifies mothers, and I would for sure say mothers have a bigger obligation to be a homemaker.
And this may be a little sexist, but I think that women are just naturally better homemakers.
That's perfect.
Yeah, that is better by biological. They're better caregivers.
Think
better
that they're just
emotional.
naturally better at taking care of children.
I mean, yeah,
that is biological.
And I think for the kids' sake, that the first duty should default belong to the mother.
Yes.
That's if you have to choose one.
To be a mother over a career woman.
Right.
And
now, I'm not saying once that kid is sustainable, he can, look after himself, then prioritize that career.
But a lot goes into raising a kid. Like and like you said, I'm more worried about like ages 0 to 9. At least.
This is where discipline comes in. This is where discipline comes into it. This is why discipline is so important.
Well, discipline is the role of the father in my mind.
Discipline is important, but as far as this
on this one for sure, because it specifies mothers, I'm gonna have to. I'm actually pushing towards strongly agree.
I'll agree. That's as most you're gonna get me.
That's fine. That's fine.
So, multinational companies are unethically exploiting plant genetic resources of developing countries. Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
What? Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resource. So, let's say Amazon, Moderna finds a plant in the Amazon that cures cancer. It is unethical for them to then go in and get that plant and cure cancer?
I think that's an extremist example, but against the will of the people there, I mean, yeah. But
I don't think so at all. If you can cure cancer, you are obligated to cure fucking cancer.
What if they start murdering the tribes?
Well, that's bad.
Yeah, I think that's more of what the question's getting at.
What if it comes to that? What if it comes to that?
This is more of like an ends justify the means type question, I think.
I'm going to disagree. Like, it's going to be hard to sell me on... Even if... So, what if we found a cure for... So, AIDS is no longer a terminal disease. You can live a full life with AIDS. What if you found a cure for AIDS in South Africa, in the Congo, and you got to go get it? But the Congolese government, which, if you don't know much about African politics, Congo is a war-torn place, like, all the fucking time.
Yeah.
We just don't talk about it. But it's all the fucking time.
They have rape camps.
Yeah.
It is bad. It is. Most people call it the war-torn country of the Congo.
I think you have a moral obligation to get in there and get that plant. Now, I don't think you should walk in and exterminate anyone who stands in your way, but I think you have a moral obligation to do what the utmost of your ability to go in there and get it and create that cure.
Nick, would you like to tell them about Nestle?
So Nestle,
sorry.
Yeah, Nestle. You know, the Crunch Bar, the bottled water.
Hershey's.
No, what? I don't know. So what they'll do is they'll go to a government and they'll buy a river. So they'll buy a river going through the country, and it's say the village there needs that river to survive. Well, Nestle, they'll wait for you to come get a drinking water, and then they'll gun you down, and then they'll go to your village, gun down the village, and be like, "Oh, there's no more village." Builds a bottling plant.
Right, and I think the specific one it's probably getting close to is the deforestation of the Amazon rainforest. You know, and I think that's where I'm like, nope.
I'm still slightly disagree. Maybe I just don't know about what corporations are doing in these other nations.
Well, they'll kill, so Amazon, they still have...
So they're really killing people to go in and get coca beans.
Yeah. So they're pushing the native people who've lived there for thousands and thousands of years, who just want to be left alone, mind you, and they're hiring mercenaries to go in and gun them down.
Because
there's no opposition. So there's no one, opposition.
Why couldn't they just go into the Amazon and harvest?
Because you have to take it.
I guess they could, which is what makes what they're doing.
Why don't people just outcompete Amazon? How come they just don't make another Twitter? How come they don't make another YouTube? No one is stopping them except the people who are doing the exploitation, and that is causing them to die.
Y'all convince me. Maybe I'm just uninformed on what they're doing, so I switched to agree.
Well, I was just throwing it out there. I'm just...
Okay. Next one. Astrology accurately explains many things. Strongly disagree. If you
What?
believe in astrology,
That's not what I have.
I have making peace with the establishment.
I'm one ahead of you. My bad.
What the fuck, Nick?
I clicked my next page by mistake.
Okay,
You
well,
twat.
I'm going to just be honest with you. Normally, I would disagree with this.
Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. I mean, you have to accept your lot in life.
I agree.
I would say, and I used to not,
Yeah.
but I feel like normally, like, a big sign of maturity is like, look, man, this is
This is the world we live in.
kind of the way it is. You don't have to like
Either
it.
pick your bootstraps up or don't.
But and I agree with why. Like, there was a time in my life when I would strongly disagree with that. Like, you can go
Yeah.
fuck yourself.
Like, I understand for, like, but for pragmatic purposes, like, you're going to need to know how the world works.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to know that the world ain't sunshine and rainbows.
And it will just
you're going to
go
have to fight
easier
and claw
along
your way out.
If you just accept that.
Yeah.
Now, that's not saying you can't fight for change, right? But you're going to have peace with
You
what
have to
it is
participate in the confines of your system
Right.
while you fight for change. So, Nick, you were going to read this
Yeah,
off anyway.
astrology accurately explains many things. Strongly disagree.
Yep. Astrology's a bunch of hooey.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think astrology is a crock of nonsense that I don't know why it got popular or why I had to learn it to meet girls in a bar, but I don't like
Well,
it.
the fame. I've seen this meme.
You're not a dick because you're a Taurus. You're a dick because you're a dick.
it shows like a car crash and it goes, bitches be like, oops, sorry, I'm Aquarius. Like, no, you just bad driver.
Okay.
So,
You cannot be moral without being religious.
strongly disagree.
Yeah.
I'm going to agree.
Really?
Yep. Because I think most of the moral foundations, even for atheists, are taught through religious culture.
Like what?
Like, murder be bad.
That's taught through religion.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
That's okay, interesting.
you don't have to be religious to be a good person, to be a morally good person.
I don't think so. But I think that even if you're 2021, you are an atheist, you were raised in a culture that got its morality from religion.
Okay.
Well,
I'm with
that-
you. Do you think that we could have figured out murder was wrong without being religious?
I don't think so, because we don't think killing animals is wrong, and without attaching an intrinsic value to human life that makes it more valuable than animals,
We didn't know we were animals till that long ago, though.
I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be hard to dissuade me from this. Because I think moral foundation has established morality since the dawn of time.
Well, I'm just telling you that. In my opinion,
That's not true at all.
I
It
don't
is.
think. I mean, Moses knew that murder was wrong without God having to tell him. That's
So-
why he hid the body,
So
That's true.
question. I have a question.
and I don't think that it got to Sinai.
When do you
know.
judge morality? Like, when do you judge
I-
a good person? Like in society.
I respect the answer. I'm just saying, like,
So like, would you say like
I
being
can't wrap
morally
my head
good is
around
like
it.
helping someone in need?
I think doing no harm
So doing no harm.
would be morally good. But that's gonna be a longer conversation on morality.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I'll
so-
argue that the
I
second
tried
we
to
start
have-
helping other people, is where morality starts to go up.
Oh, hey. Charity is better than Social Security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged.
I mean, the
Yes.
data shows that at least wasn't true during the Great Depression.
No one had money to give to charity.
That's not true.
Poor
We
kid.
in this country we had more money than we'd ever had in the history of this country. Just fewer people had it. Nick, what say you?
I disagree.
Okay,
I agree.
I think a mixture of both is really needed.
I agree. I agree with
I'd
that
agree with
statement.
that.
But I would disagree that charity is the only
I think
way.
charity's better.
Okay.
More genuine. Social Security, if kept in check, could be good.
Yeah.
So this next one is a little weird, for me at least. It says some people are naturally unlucky.
Strongly disagree.
I don't know. You see that guy got struck by lightning like 3 times, and then when he died, his grave got
Well, I
struck
don't
by
really
lightning.
believe in luck.
That's kind of where
I believe in
like,
chance.
I don't. Exactly.
Yeah,
There's
but
a
chance is
There's
not
a
luck.
one. There's a 1 in some percentage of something happening, and You just so happen to roll that dice.
I think I'm gonna agree with Nick. Like, so I've met a couple of people that just have a awful roll of the dice. Just kind of.
Okay, well, I'll disagree then instead of strongly disagree. I just don't believe in luck. I believe your life is the culmination of your own decisions.
So do you think fishing is luck?
Are
Do
we?
you think fishing is luck or skill?
Skill.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
I fish the same pond with people who are more skilled fishermen, and they catch 5 fish and I'll catch none. Like,
it's all about what the fish wants.
and this person is for sure not more lucky than I am.
So,
Like,
I mean, I'd like to think that people are responsible for their own outcome. You know, that's the meritocracy, but I don't know that that's the case anymore. I think a lot of people are a product of the environment that they grew up in, and that kind of can hinder. That can really mess with their ceiling.
this next one's pretty easy.
It's important for my child's school to instill religious values. No.
Strongly disagree.
Yeah, we are.
And I'm a religious person.
We are.
But I don't want any school teaching my son. I don't want any school teaching Christianity, Islamic, Judaism, nothing. I don't want. I want them to be.
Beyond the aspect of history, I guess.
No, we are a.
If you want to
secular country, not
if you want to teach about like the Crusades or about reversion, the Christians versus Islam.
Yeah,
that's
it's fine.
fine.
I don't want you. I don't want you teaching my kid any theology.
Yeah,
though.
don't you teach them which ones was right in that war.
Okay. This one is the last page, and it's extremely short, so we're wrapping this up. Sex outside of marriage is usually immoral.
Strongly disagree.
Of course you would. But I would generally disagree. It's sex between two consenting people is not. It doesn't hurt anybody else, so to me it's not.
It's none of my business. Not my monkey, not my circus.
Yeah, none of my fucking business.
A same-sex couple in stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from possible of child adoption.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're a stable, loving couple, no reason you shouldn't be able to adopt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pornography depicting consenting adults, that's a key one, okay, should be legal for the adult population.
Nope. Disagree.
Really?
Porn should be illegal.
Yep.
What about restricted?
Either way, I would take restricted.
You would give a little on restriction.
But ideally, which one would you have if you had to choose? Like either
yeah, outlawed.
outlawed. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's better for society that way.
And that's not authoritarian.
No, that's a little authoritarian. I
Okay.
understand that.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, I really do think it's better for society to not have free access to porn.
Okay.
I mean, listen to the American Sex Podcast. Like,
yeah.
What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state.
Strongly agree. Yeah.
Strongly agree.
Yep. No one can feel naturally homosexual.
Strongly disagree. I mean,
I would generally agree with that.
I
think homosexuality is mostly a product of your environment you're raised in.
Would
Yeah.
that?
do you think our uncle, with the Christian family he grew up with, wanted to be gay?
I don't think being gay is a choice, but
I think being gay is a choice.
do you think he feels natural?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
I mean, it's his natural state of being.
So now go ahead and read the question slower.
Oh, no one can feel naturally Okay, so I would disagree.
Okay. These days, openness about sex has gone too far.
Strongly agree.
Disagree.
Strongly
Disagree. I disagree.
No, you're wrong.
Alright, now let's see where we stand. Okay.
Wyatt, you want to go first?
Yep, I'm currently... Okay, so if you look at your thing, yours will be a little bit down at the bottom, so just go ahead and I'll tell you all my political compass thing. So I'm negative 3.2, negative 3.69. So I'm about in that I'm about in the Bernie Sanders area. So about right there. I'll screenshot it and I'll send a picture. So that's a little bit further left than I thought. That's about where I thought I'd be on the libertarian side. But Nick, what did you get?
So I'm negative 1.63, and then negative 1.08.
So Nick is actually more socially liberal, like culturally liberal than I am.
No, he's not.
1 point. Oh, okay. You said 1. I thought you said 3. Okay, never mind. Okay.
And we'll post the charts in the comments or in the podcast so y'all can see our charts.
Right. So, okay. All right, Garrett, where were you at?
I'm right 1.5 and libertarian 0.56. So I'm like, if here's the center, I'm 1 over.
See, Garrett's where I thought I was going to be. So take mine. I thought I was going to be just there, but on the right side.
So I'm the only conservative on this fucking podcast.
I mean, again, I don't agree with these questions. You're asking broad. You're asking
question framing is a little, yeah.
Like if there was, I would have been a neutral on a lot of these.
Which probably would make you more libertarian.
Yeah, so he would just be down on the axis. He wouldn't
Yeah.
be. He wouldn't be any more left or right, though.
I might be a little bit farther down, but
ultimately, any shockers? Anybody?
Yeah, I thought I would be on. I just
This
thought I'd be
is-
where I'm at, but just on the opposite side.
this is exactly where I thought I'd be. Like,
I thought you said you would be on the authoritarian side.
well, I did think I would be more authoritarian, but
Yep. Do you guys think that this is like a decent test to figure out generally where you are?
No,
I think it's okay. I mean, it's as
it's
good
not,
as any political compass test is going to be.
It's not perfect, but
I mean, personally, I would do I think the 8 values one because it's more detailed questions. Okay, so like, I would love to see who we're all by because I know like all of our politics in America is in that top right quadrant. That's Obama, that's Hillary, that's Trump, that's Marco Rubio, that's DeSantis, that's literally everyone except Bernie Sanders. Even AOC creeps her name in that top right corner, believe it or not. She pokes the center, but she's in that blue square, even. The only one's Bernie. So.
Does it show you that?
You can find them online. Yeah, you can you can look up like famous people's political compass. I think Nancy Pelosi's pretty authoritarian, so she's up there.
yeah, North Korea is basically all the way to the left.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? Any wrapping thoughts?
Yeah, I like this. I thought this was fun.
This was good. You know, I'm a little worried people are going to get bored listening to it, but I had a good time.
Yeah.
It's good to even just listen to the questions and make your own opinion about these questions.
Right, and what you think about
Hell, if
tests.
you want to play along, go right ahead.
And I just want you to know, if you disagree with me, you're clearly wrong. And
we hate you.
Yeah, so don't come back. No, I'm kidding. Obviously. All right. Well, I think this has been fun.
Yeah, politicalcompass.org if you want to take it along with us.
Yep.
You know, figure out where you're at, see how much you agree or
Play a
disagree
game.
with us.
I can't wait till we all get famous, and then people react to this, and they're like, "These bigots."
Yeah.
You know, I just
Yeah.
can't.
I'll
wait
come out and
for
say
it.
I'm a sexist.
And who knows? I'm sure by the next time we take this, our views will have changed at least a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, all good growing people should probably change their views with the times.
Yeah.
As more evidence shows.
Yeah, if
So-
you honestly, it's kind of weird how that gets. This will be the last thing. How weird that is that people take like not changing. It's like that just means you haven't been in dialogue with the world.
Right. So I think consistency on a short-term scale is important. But
Ignorance.
I'm less worried about consistency. So, like, if you were a climate change denier in 1980, I get it. There wasn't a whole lot of science on it.
But today,
But now,
you just
should probably believe that climate change is happening.
Either you just don't understand what they're saying, or you're being ignorant to it. And you just
Yeah,
don't
so
want
that's
to
the thing.
listen.
You're just, burying your head in the sand.
You either misunderstood or don't care.
Well,
for a lot
yeah,
of these.
well, like, just, like, now, if you don't think green energy is the future,
You're wrong.
you're wrong.
You're going to be left in the past.
Like-
Sorry.
Right.
It's
Well,
kind
or you're really, like, for me, as someone who's investing in the stock market, you're just not going to make any money.
So it's like when the law came to the West. Either you get with the program or be left behind.
Someone got mine.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been fun. Hopefully, we'll do this. We'll get more into politics here soon. But
Yeah, there's really only, like, a few Supreme Court decisions that came out. There wasn't a whole lot to talk about.
Been a bit of
much.
dry patch,
Yeah.
sadly.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll talk to y'all later. This has been fun, and this has been the Refined Peasants.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that little notification bell in the corner, and be sure to let us know if you guys have any ideas for what you want to see from us next. We're a new upcoming podcast. Share it with your friends if you're confident.